I'm eating a chicken nugget. Hi.
Nice.
My wife is like, here, quick, eat this before you go live. I thought I had enough time to finish chewing. I didn't. So how you doing? This is John and Tonic. This is the first show of who knows? We'll do a semi-regular show where we'll talk about comics and movies or just movies. What's the rules here?
Mostly movies, I think.
Okay. Do you want to we'll pick a movie and then we'll go watch it and talk about it, or like have the chat say, why don't you guys watch this or something, or just whatever we just both happen to see.
Yeah, and we can have the chat suggest for the next week.
Okay, cool.
Maybe that'd be this week. I was thinking Fantastic Four.
Yeah. If we're going to talk about Fantastic, a lot of people have been asking me, and I've been telling them to come here tonight. So I hope people do show up. First off, put your link in the private chat so I can put it in the public chat, because you got yourself a campaign going.
Yes, sir.
Yes, tell us about your campaign. We got to always be selling. I'm terrible with that.
Yeah. Let's see.
Hey, Dark Alchemy. This is my buddy Roy. Driving but listening. Just saw Fantastic Four. Loved it. Okay.
Boop, boop. There we go. Okay, so now I'll try to sell real quick. Are we live and stuff?
Yeah, we're live. We're live.
Okay. So
I act like I'm not live eating chicken nuggets and stuff like that. Doubling my words. But
the lack of decorum had
No, I've never been professional.
On Kickstarter right now, On Call Heroes #2, written by me and with art by Jacob Sebesta, and we're doing pretty good so far. I got to take off these headphones. I can't hear myself. If there's any feedback, give me heads up.
Sure. I got to say, I am completely charmed by Tonic Mole's comics, his writing, his art style. Matter of fact, Tonic Mole, I gotta give you guff.
What?
You broke the dam and got me starting to collect original art.
Oh yeah.
You were really nice. You gave me a free page, so it's hanging up in a place. But other people aren't as nice as you, and they do a damn dirty thing like charge me for original artwork.
That's bullshit.
I know. So as if comic books and records and just staying alive by eating food and things like that isn't expensive enough. Now original art. Damn you all who are not Tonic Mole. The heck.
I've only got 3 different. Well, I got Jim Lawson and Illustrator Monk, but it's Saving the World stuff. The only one I have that's not is I have a page from Vampirilla drawn by Amanda Connor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now I know you you buy and sell high grade comics too, like as either a hobby or something. Do you do that with the original art, or is that just that's yours?
That's just mine. Yeah. Okay. No. Well, I sell my own on eBay and stuff like that from Saving the World. I've sold a lot of my original art and then Jim Lawson's, and so I do that, but I don't will and deal original art really. Too costly to get into, then try to flip. Comic book wise, ironically, I do low grade, so I do high end low grade. So like Avengers #1 or something, but it's parts of it cut out and stuff like that. I do a lot of
#1 previously used as toilet paper. Who's bidding?
A lot. You would be shocked how much money I've made off of coverless comics and all that.
Well, you gotta lie. Say Stan Lee used it as toilet paper.
That's right.
They can't prove it. I don't think they test for DNA in that kind of capacity.
Yeah. And speaking of Fantastic Four, the movie we're covering, I was going through a dollar bin at my local shop, and he had a coverless Fantastic Four that was the first appearance of Super Skrull.
Oh, what's that, number 17?
Yeah, I think so.
Or 18.
Yeah, and it was $1. So I bought it for $1 and I sold it for $40.
Nice.
So
that's fun. That is ironically one of the Fantastic Fours I'm missing. I'm missing number 2.
You didn't buy it for $40, did you?
No, I can't buy a coverless comic.
Yeah.
I just can't.
I only have one that's like in my main collection, and it was. I don't mind if it's coverless if it's an impossible otherwise.
Right. Like,
so I have Batman #5 for I think it's first appearance of the Batmobile. I couldn't have it with a cover.
right.
And
Like,
so,
yeah, if I see it, if coverless Amazing Fantasy 15 for
right. But if a comic's like goes for like 150, no, I don't want it coverless,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to address the chat over here. So this is my buddy Roy. He plays my role-playing games with me. I haven't killed his character yet, but there is always hope for the future. RRTNZ's already busted chops. He says, as a fun sci-fi film, FF was fine. As a Fantastic Four movie, it wasn't great. Galactus was a moronic kaiju, and Reed Richards makes incredibly dumb decisions. It's a 4 out of 10. But we'll talk about the Fantastic Four at length pretty soon. We got On-Call Heroes. This is what we were talking about. Tonic Mole and I distract each other. We're like that. So I just like I said, I'm completely charmed by your art and by your storytelling. And I've said this millions of times. You write the best dialogue in comics. It's just,
thank you, sir.
It's so real. It's so real. I just, everybody has a distinct voice. So this is other people drawing your characters.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is my favorite Lillian Wop Wop Wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Wop Wop Wet he could exist at all time, space, and other dimensions, and he might even show up in a comic book that he shouldn't even be in.
He can be anywhere.
Right, he could be in other people's comic books. We'll leave that for a rainy day. But here we go. What I like about this is Kiara could lift up a tank, but she can't manage her wallet.
Right. Well, it's expensive running a superhero team of unemployed people.
Right. Does she need to eat more than the average bear?
Yes.
Yes.
Massive amounts.
Yeah.
So she already ate quite a bit. Now she has to constantly eat. As long as she has to eat less almost if she's not superheroing. But the superheroing, she has to replenish her superpowers fueled by calories.
There was a scene in your comic that I liked that she got like massively powerfully strong, and then kind of like when she was like she was emaciated. Right. Yeah, and she was like burgers.
Right. So she burns her her metabolism is really good, but she grew to the size of a kaiju. So she burned all of her body fat to grow that big. It don't totally make sense how you could convert just a little bit of body fat to be huge, but it's a comic book, so it don't matter.
Right. I'm working on a story with the speedster, and I'm trying to think of the real world effects of being that fast. First off, how dangerous it would be to be a speedster who's not invulnerable.
Right.
Like, so the first thing, she wears goggles, because just imagine you're running fast and bugs start hitting your face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Things like that.
Look at tornadoes where it shoots straw through a telephone post. A human speeder, if you're not invulnerable, well, for one thing, the wind friction, if anything touched your skin, it would burn your skin off, because you're moving so fast that the wind on your skin is creating so much friction that it like set you on fire. So it's tough.
Yeah,
and I mean, a human could probably it depends how fast. Like running 100 miles an hour, she'd be fine.
Right.
150, 200.
Well, first off, I don't like overpowered heroes. Yeah. I have one. Captain Atlas is overpowered on purpose, but there's a consequence to it. But the Go-Getter, she can't run she's more like Quicksilver in the 70s and 80s. You know, she's fast, but she's not Speed Force Flash fast.
Right.
And the problem is she has normal human reflexes. And momentum, so she can't stop on a dime. She, like if she's running fast,
right,
and all of a sudden she's like, I got to save that baby. She's got to, if she turns really quick, she's just going to keep on tumbling, and
right.
really hurt.
And see, and that's interesting because then you go, you can actually use a reference of driving a car.
Right.
So we can move at 70 miles an hour and still like react, like we're not overly stressed with how we're moving. But you ever go 120 to 130 miles an hour and you start to lose the ability to even navigate a straight road, like you're going too fast.
Right.
And
have you ever in a roller coaster you feel that the G4? Yeah.
Right. And so that's interesting.
Yeah. Here are the 4 covers for your like the bottom right, Mayo Mayhem is Tonic Ball's art. I just love that. It's so charming.
And it's funny, I was really worried about this campaign, knock on wood, because I was like, it would be weird to censor any of the bottom 2 because of just how mild it is. And the one, it's a joke because it's mayo, but of course it looks like it could be something else. But I was like, I don't know if I'll get in trouble, but it seems silly to try to censor it. That don't make no sense.
Well, you see all the pickles and tomatoes and everything. Like I knew you were being cheeky, but you also know what you're doing.
Exactly.
It's a food fight, or knowing her, she messed up at job and customers are pissed off at her.
Funny about the pissed off. Originally, it was mustard and ketchup. And my wife goes, the mustard kind of looks like people are pissing on her. And I was like, God damn it, you're right. Yeah, and I was like, you know what? It'd be funnier if it's all mayo. And so that's how that came to be.
I gotta say though, out of these, the standard cover just creeps me out the most because there's nothing more terrifying than a clown.
Exactly. He did, where me and Monk drew her more of like a sexy clown girl.
That's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as a sexy clown. It is.
Jacob succeeded in having the creepy clown part really shine through pretty good.
Well, I gotta say, Illustrator Monk did a sexy clown.
See, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we got 30 people in the chat. How many people think it's possible for a clown to be sexy?
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I'm working on a story for Renzo, my Batman-esque character. He's gonna deal with a clown type villain. Imagine that, and it's gonna be so cathartic because I hate the Joker, and oh my God, is this clown gonna get his living face pummeled? Spoiler alert: the superhero wins.
You spoiled the ending.
Yeah.
Okay, should we get into our fantastic?
Yeah, I always like to filibuster a bit to let people wind in. I'll address the chat and then So just check out this comic book. You could get the back issues.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There's only two issues, so it's you could get the first issue bundle right over here, and get caught up. No joke. All kidding aside, this is one of the comics that got me to fall in love with this whole crowdfunding indie comics. It is just charming, and and your growth as an artist and a writer is phenomenal, and it's as lighthearted as it is. It's heading someplace dark that I can't help but have like shivers when I read your comic. I'm like,
I want to tell you so bad.
I know. Me Tonic, when I was out of work with the broken neck, Tonic and I stayed up like 6 o'clock in the morning talking about each other's comics. And he was just like, you're so close, but I can't tell you. And I was like, don't tell me. I want to be surprised, So good evening. Pete Rock. Pete, I sent you an email with all my scripts. Pete's proofreading all my scripts. The Reed Richards casting of Pedro Pascal kind of blows up my desire to see them. That was the biggest hurdle for me to get over. That was the biggest hurdle for me. And I will say, I didn't like any of the cast. I didn't like anybody who played the main Fantastic Four. Nor did I like the fact that it was a female Silver Surfer. There's plenty of me to dislike, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So we'll bring that down. Also, I have Heroic Tales 2 live on Kickstarter for 12 more days. 12 more days, but it's still available on Fund My Comic. I got a lot of irons in the fire right now. Man, Renzo just sent in some pages. We're already hard at work at Patriarch #1. We're also hard at work at another story that I'm going to be in somebody else's comic that I'm being tight-lipped about, and this top secret mythological historical comic. It's this much closer to like I can reveal it. I'm actually being uncharacteristically non-spoilery for once because I want to build up some attention.
I should have you write a story for Saving the World. I'll pay you $25.
That's more than I make on Heroic Tales. So yeah. I mean, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've had other artists, but I had it. One guy.
Wow.
I had one guy say, I was like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to have another writer. And he's like, oh yeah, I'd do it for like, I forget how much it was per page. And I was like, I can't justify an artist. I don't have to do it, but I write a script on the toilet like at 2 a.m.
I wouldn't even take money for writing a script. It would just be fun, you know.
Right now.
I couldn't even, but it's funny because I'm like, that would be fun. And then I instantly got dread. I'm like, somebody else's characters. What if I mess them up? Like I wrote my characters with somebody else's character meeting my characters. And I'm being vague on purpose because I don't know if I can reveal this yet. You know what I mean? So there might be reasons that whatever. I'll reveal it when I'm given permission to reveal it. And I had to get the story approved, which is weird because I approve my own stories. You know, I don't need anybody's permission. And then it got shot down. And the reason was your characters just saved my characters. My character is just a ragdoll. I was like, you're right. So I had to make everybody equally heroic.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then and then it got approved, and it had to be exactly 12 pages.
Yeah.
No more, no less. That is rough.
Yeah. Well, and because you have to do breakdowns, which I don't. I often have half of a script. I know what the ending is, but because I rewrite so much that I try to have a complete script, but sometimes it's self-defeating because if you're going to almost rewrite the whole thing, you need to know where it goes.
I rewrite when the color, like Renzo draws or whoever draws. Then I have Daniel or Oscar color it, and now I have a full colored comic. So the art is finalized. And then I go through and I rewrite the script because sometimes, the artist has a different vision. They change panels around, and it's just good because literally between rewriting the script, it was a year. A lot changes in a year. You get a different perspective, So that's always good. And then I send it to a professional editor to make sure that I spell words right, that makes sense and things like that. Which I didn't do with the first issue. The second issue, I actually hired an editor, and the editor.
I actually just copy and paste my script into WordPerfect, so it will pinpoint spelling errors and stuff.
I do that too, but sometimes there and there is misspelled.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've gotten pretty good. The funny thing is, over my 12 issues, Saving the World Omnibus, you can still get on Kickstarter, and it collects 1 through 12 of my Saving the World series.
The Omnibus.
But as I kept writing, I had lots of errors early on. Then by issues like 4 and 5 and stuff, I haven't found. I only proofread myself, and I can't remember any recent flubs. And so, but okay.
I spelt my friend's name wrong in the credits, and I spelt the bad guy, Boss Moxie. It's supposed to be with the Y, but it turned out to be IE, and on the same page it was spelled different.
Oh, so right.
I had to pull it back and fix some typos. I figured that was a big typo that people were going to bust my chops. And then there was also a page with no dialogue, just the word balloons. I must have put the wrong file. So that caused me to be, a couple of weeks,
and I ship my digital first. and people can, if worst case scenario, they catch it then, and then you can fix it.
Oh,
Because I
that's
think,
pretty clever.
yeah, I think I once did my word bubbles. They were pointed the wrong direction on one page or
Yeah,
something.
I sent a finished file, but the wrong finished file. So
Oh,
the
right.
word balloons were really ugly, and the only critique I got was story's really good, but you got to get a new letterer. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Bill is awesome. And then I realized I sent the pro because he does these temporary word balloons. You know what I mean?
Right,
And then
right.
I okay them. He does the finalized one. I was like, don't say nothing bad about Bill.
Right.
I love his lettering. Yeah, but I sent the wrong file.
It was you.
Yeah, it was
You
me.
were the weak link.
I am. I fully admit I am the weak link to. You can't say nothing about Oscar and Daniel's color, and Renzo is untouchable as far as art. I'm the weak link. I know that. I got no problem admitting that. You know, but surround yourself with people who are more talented than you.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what you do. So let's get to this Fantastic Four nonsense. How's that? So, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say?
Okay, so I'd went and seen Superman twice, and then went and saw Fantastic Four. That's a little bit of context. Now, I liked the original two movies, the old ones, good enough. I thought they were fun and funny or whatever when they came out. Um, like everybody, I didn't like the dark gritty Fantastic Four. So but I didn't know how much can be milked out of Fantastic Four. I know fans of Fantastic Four are like, it's a great comic. It's like, okay, but you're a very small group, right? And so when everybody's like, can it beat Superman? I was like, well, one's Superman and one's Fantastic Four. That was popular, but within a small group. So, anyways, I went and saw it. Also, for context, I don't think I've read a Fantastic Four comic ever. I know canon, but I don't remember sitting down and reading a Fantastic Four comic.
Really?
Yeah, I mainly read DC anyways. So it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman I've read. As far as Marvel, like some runs of the X-Men and Spider-Man, but other than that, not much. So, but I know Jack Kirby. I know the art styles, and I know all of these types of things. But I do know canon because I collect and flip comics, so I have to know where all the first appearances are, what the story was. But sitting down and actually reading it is a different thing. So, anyways, I went to the movie. I actually really liked it. I liked the retro deal. Like a lot of folks in our circles, I wasn't the cast I was worried about. Not so much Johnny Storm or Thing. My only thing with Thing was he felt it wasn't the problem. The problem wasn't the Thing. The problem was Smart Hulk. The Thing acted like Thing. I thought that was good. But the problem is they made Smart Hulk, who shouldn't act like the Thing, act like the Thing prior. So I kept hearing Mark Ruffalo's Smart Hulk.
Oh God! And nobody wants to hear Mark Ruffalo.
No, but as I was watching, I was like, that's kind of unfair because this guy's doing a good thing. It was that Mark Ruffalo was doing a bad Smart Hulk, not he was kind of stealing. So, anyways, but I really like to finally get a movie that looks like a classic comic book. The closest prior, I mean, maybe the original 70s Superman, honestly. Everything else is a modern, everybody's got cell phones, and it's all a darker, more modern take on it. Where it was Jack Kirby art. They had, the car comes and slides sideways, and there's the Thing coming out of the ground. That's the cover to the first issue. And so they even reproduced cover art by Jack Kirby in the movie. I also, with Reed Richards, I haven't liked the young Reed Richards where they're like, yeah, but what if he's like 25 and like a goofy nerd? I'm like, but he isn't. He has gray hair. That's part of his character design.
Right. He's significantly older than everybody.
Yeah,
Ben's old too, but he's a rock monster, so you don't.
Right. But he has to look older. It's his character design. So, but having said that, I have Pedro Burnout as much as anybody. But the thing is, as much as I have Pedro Burnout, whenever I actually watch a movie he's in, I've never not liked it. Like, I've never not liked him in a movie. But I have this burnout to where I'm not super excited about going in. So, but when I went, I was like, no, he's a pretty good Reed Richards. And a lot of the concerns that I heard from people and that I had going in didn't really materialize. Like, it felt true to the source material, and yes, they used the Silver Surfer's girlfriend instead of Silver Surfer, but I was kind of like, Silver Surfer has become bigger than his first appearance, to where he's this hero. It would be hard to just introduce him as the Harbinger again and then say, okay, we're never going to get around to the whole he's a superhero. It's like, no, right? So in a way, I feel like they might have used the lady Silver Surfer to save the male Silver Surfer for the MCU proper.
That's what I think too. I'm not happy with it. I want my comic book movies to have a slavish dedication to the original source material. Right. And when they do change, the change has to make sense. Like, I understand Tony Stark wasn't in Vietnam.
Right.
You know what I mean? Things like that. I was so happy when I saw that it was set in the 60s with a retro future. Right. Oh my God, that looked great. Again, I didn't like any of the 4 actors. Mm. I do like the woman who played the Silver Surfer. I just wish she didn't play the Silver Surfer. I like Pedro Pascal. That was not Reed Richards. That was like, I don't know. Just, there could have been so many other people. And Reed Richards is dashing. He's handsome. Right. He's dramatic. Back in the 60s, it was cool to be a scientist.
Right.
These were NASA scientists putting people on the moon. Women wanted to be with them and men wanted to be them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now scientists are nerds that we right. We smack in the back of the head when they're not looking, kind of thing. So Reed Richards, he should have been more, especially in this retro future in the 60s, he should have been more of a heroic, dashing figure. Mm. I love Reed Richards. He's like my 3rd or 4th favorite. Full disclosure, Fantastic Four is my favorite comic book. With the exception of 2 issues, I have a full run of the original 404 issues of Fantastic Four. I love the Fantastic Four. Been reading it all my life. I lowered my expectations to the ground because there has not been. I didn't like any Fantastic Four movie. This movie I liked. Now I think it's because I was finally like, well, this is the best it's going to get.
Right.
But I'm also, there was a lot of problems with it. But I liked the retro future. Hated the actors. What's her name? The girl who played Sue Storm. She's attractive in an uncanny valley way. She doesn't look human.
Well, okay, that was one of my. This is weird. The weird thing that I think it's New Hollywood in a way, right? Just how they do things, but they make this movie, and it's a shallow thing to say. I liked her as Sue Storm, and I loved her story arc. Her acting was great, and I really felt the emotion like towards the end when they're facing off with Galactus and all these types of things. Her eyebrows is so distracting to where she has eyebrows, more eyebrow than me, and maybe you can't see on here. My eyebrows grow down to my eyelid. She just goes full eyebrows out, and I go, hey, I don't want to be the shallow guy that goes, maybe she should trim those eyebrows for a $250 million movie. But she should, because it's distracting as hell. It's kind of like if a dude films a movie and he has the You know, where our beard grows up to here, and
Yeah.
he just says that'll be good. It's like I don't know. It's weird looking, and just us walking around, it's fine. But if you're,
I
anyways,
this,
it was
this
kind of
is
like that.
so this is so shallow and sexist. Her features were too angular and sharp.
Yes,
Sue Storm is more soft and motherly,
right.
and she was angular and sharp. Like
Though,
she has a villain face.
yeah, though I did,
Oh,
I
I like the bushy eyebrows. Go to the '80s when all the women had the big bushy eyebrows.
did.
Yeah, yeah.
I think for me though, I did buy that she's this motherly figure more than I did. I can't remember her name that
Jessica Alba.
played Jessica Alba. She wasn't. She was just kind of hot girl, which at times Sue Storm has become. In the '90s, definitely they were like, oh, she's just the hot girl, like with the cutout four and stuff like that. Um, but yes, overall, she's this mother figure. I thought that this actress actually pulled that off better. Like I bought that she had this child, and
Right. That was something I was going to get to later. I I she I don't know. She just wasn't motherly. She has like a villain face. She's attractive, but you need to be more than just attractive. Jessica Alba looked like a person in a costume. I could like when I was watching those original movies, I was like, oh, that's Jessica Alba with dyed hair and blue contact lenses. That's what I mean. Like I never once believed that it was. I actually liked that thing, and I liked what's his name as Chris Evans. He was a better Human Torch than he ever was a Captain America.
Oh yeah, and you can't. The Thing from the original movies. That's where I thought they nailed it, and so every movie after is trying to do something different.
Right.
Not look, but it's like but that was the commish was the perfect thing. He was just so good. He
was perfect casting. That movie was half perfect casting because the Ben Grimm, the commish, and Chris Evans as the Human Torch was outstanding. I just didn't like the Reed Richards guy. He was also indecisive and like what is with Reed Richards being this is the smartest man in the world. He's got a computer. Like if anything, he puts up his hand and like makes you wait while he's what I mean? Like he takes control that way, or whatever. Sydney Sweeney would have been an awesome Sue Storm. Awesome Sue Storm. She would be an awesome Galactus. She would be an awesome Thing. She would,
well, that's where I think the problem would be is that's kind of what they did with the original movies, right? They cast the pretty girl where it's a lot more complicated, right?
Do you know that show Vikings, the woman who played Lagartha, the blonde?
I know the show, but I don't know her.
The blonde from Vikings, she is Sue Storm. I'll look her up while we're talking. But there's a lot of comments, and I want to get to all of the like Lagartha Vikings actress. Okay, I can't. Yeah, Catherine Winnick. This is if I had ultimate power. I don't want her in the Vikings costume. I want her in the Catherine Winnick. Just give me Catherine Winnick. Okay, but she should have played Sue Storm. There is no other actress in my mind who is just Sue. Reed Richards, anybody. Like you could have had freaking Corey Haim play Reed Richards, and I would have liked it better. I just don't like Pedro Pascal. There's something. There's just something about him that I just can't stand. Oh, this picture is awesome. So this is who should have been Sue Storm, and the fact that they didn't cast her just what else is she doing? There you go. There's Sue Storm.
Yeah.
She's muscular. She's in shape. She looks like she could throw a punch. I mean, she played a Viking woman, but she is soft, beautiful, sexy and athletic.
You know what's funny about superhero movies and casting? Well, for instance, for She-Hulk, they were looking for an Allison Brie,
Yeah, I heard she was the original choice.
Yeah. Now, what happens is people think, well, if you're an actor, wouldn't you take any big role? It's like, no, because you
No.
got to imagine. So, say they go to Allison Brie and they say, okay, we want you to play She Hulk. It's a 10-year contract. You have to drop any other project you might come across and travel anywhere possibly in the world and work 16-hour days for an unknown amount of time. You might be in random Avengers movies, blah, 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 blah. That's a huge commitment. I would say no, no. If someone came to me and said, do you want to play Batman? You would think you would say yes. And then they go, okay, here's the deal.
I'll tell you what, if they offered me the role of Sue Storm, I would say yes. I could. What are these people making $80,000 a week? I'd even wear the hoochie suit for $80,000.
But so these people go, well, okay, for one thing, they're already made. They make money regardless, and they go, yeah, I'd rather not.
Right.
I don't know. I don't want to sign that contract. I have other things I want to do. For one thing, they're not the super comic book nerds. So a lot of times the person who takes the role wasn't their ideal.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was the person that would sign that insane contract. And so, and that might be it to some degree. Now, I will say, no, I preferred Fantastic Four over Superman. But
okay.
There is an interesting fact that I've read more Superman. I'm a DC Comics guy. And there was lots of things, though, yeah, I wasn't as big. I'm not a big stickler on the fine little details as much. However, having said that, Superman felt like the script was looser. There was more little plot holes in it for me, whereas Fantastic Four felt far more like the formula was hammered out. Having said that, I wouldn't say either movie is even in the top 20 of superhero movies. Nowhere close.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They're both.
I enjoyed them both, but they're seriously flawed movies.
Right. They're good for 2025 for what that's good for. Like for the MCU, Fantastic Four was one of the best movies in the past since Endgame, excluding Spider-Man. Spider-Man was really good. For me, I thought it was the best movie they've done in this whole phase to some degree.
It was the best movie to me since Infinity War. I didn't like Endgame.
Okay. To be fair, I didn't like Infinity War or Endgame, but I was being.
I really liked Infinity War, but I didn't like Endgame. I thought it was sloppy time travel, but that's a whole other ball of wax. But
right.
Also, saying that this was the best movie of that phase is damning it with faint praise at the same time.
And that's totally true.
I fully admit. I know Logic Finance is going to get. I fully admit it. If you didn't like this movie, I can't get mad. I'm not going to get mad at you. There was a lot to dislike.
No, I didn't like it enough to defend it.
I'm not going to get mad. I'm just saying I enjoyed the movie for what it was, and it's probably for a bad reason in the fact that I didn't think it was going to be any good. I'm going to list the things I liked. It looked amazing. Mm-hmm. Just to sit and watch the movie, the set designs, like you said, there was enough homages to Kirby and Stan Lee and the past. With the exception of those four actors, everything was what I wanted a Fantastic Four movie to look like. Galactus looked like Galactus. Mm-hmm. The Silver Surfer, even though it was a female, going on comet trails and through lava and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. Yeah. Reed Richards didn't stretch enough. Human Torch kind of looked cartoony. That I didn't like. But I liked the design of Herbie. I liked that the Fantastic Four were worldwide respected, things like that. I liked that they were a family, that they were positive, that they liked each other. Even when Reed and Sue fought, it was like a real fight, like it was a marriage fight. It wasn't just like you're a dopey idiot. Like, they fought because Sue wanted there was no way in the world she was even considering thinking about giving up her baby.
Right.
And that was true Reed Richards. If you read the comics, there was an issue where Franklin was losing control of his powers, and he literally lobotomized him.
Right.
And that caused, she left and Medusa took over. So Reed Richards, he's a loving, compassionate guy, but like, I'm not going to blow up the world for my kid. Like he makes the hard decisions, and that was a hard decision. So I like what he says. Yes, I think of that. I thought that was good. Right. I really liked it. I like that they were a family. And this is going to be weird, and I'm sure this isn't what Hollywood wanted, but this is what my wife and I took it. It was the most pro-life movie I've seen in a long time.
Well, and that's what I noticed this summer. Not just the pro-life, but no, there was pro-family. It was all about the family. And
like before the baby was born, they never said it was a fetus. She referred to it as a baby.
Right.
Like she did the invisible, so they humanized an unborn baby.
Right.
Which is like other people, no, that's just a clump of cells. No,
And Superman was similar in that it wasn't the baby part, but that when they were announcing the casting, I was, if no one else was amazed, then I guess I'm alone in it, that I was like, they race swap nobody.
Perry White, they race swap.
Except for Perry White, that is fair, because my favorite Perry White was
Lawrence Fishburne. Right?
Lawrence Fishburne. And some characters in comics, I feel actually don't, like, they just work better. Nick Fury, come on, right? Find a white guy that could be Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, but right? I'll disagree with you there, because I did not like Samuel Jackson as Fury. He was a different character.
Mm. Maybe it's because I don't like Nick Fury. And that might be the
I was gonna say, because Samuel Jackson is charismatic as the day is long. That was the Avengers as led by Samuel L. Jackson.
Right. And
there was Samuel L. Jackson pretending to be kind of in disguise as a fake name of Nick Fury, but ultimately it was Samuel L. Jackson. That wasn't Nick Fury. That's the only way I could get.
I prefer Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, but Perry White is kind of the same thing. But now with Perry White, he's such a blank slate, right?
Right. I hate to say this, and Superman's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Perry White, the fact that they race swapped him, usually that is like
right.
First off, Lawrence Fishburne already did. Lawrence Fishburne could play anything, as far as I'm concerned. He's one of the actors to me. I just like Lawrence Fishburne. I just wish he wasn't 700 pounds. I come on, Lawrence, get in shape. I'm rooting for you. I like you. Stay alive. I want you to be in more movies.
Right.
So he could, also when they race swapped. Why can't I think of the reporter in the Daredevil TV series, the original one, Ulrich. They made him a black guy. Yeah. That guy, at first I was like, he's race swapped. I can't watch this race, but he was so good. He was Ulrich that he transcended the race swap. Well, unfortunately, when they race swap a lot of people, they don't transcend the race swap.
No. And another great example for me, at least, the Batman, I was like, come on, with Commissioner Gordon. But then as I was like, the movie was about to come out, I was like, okay, you've had like 3 or 4 perfect Commissioner Gordons. They can have one weird one. See how it goes.
It's funny because Gary Oldman, I just like Gary Oldman. So I
exactly.
But that guy who I forgot they race swapped him. I actually liked him.
He was so good. He was
because they had a Commissioner Gordon Batman dynamic that was true to the comics.
It was the best dynamic of Commissioner Gordon and Batman, and I go, okay, fair enough. Because the scene when they're in the police station, and he goes, "You got to get out of here." He's like, "There's cops everywhere." He goes, "Yeah, but you punched me when and took my key." And they planned this. God, it was so freaking good. I felt like I was like, okay, I was wrong there. Fair enough. That guy knocked it down the park. And I loved Gary Oldman and I loved the I love the old man. He played a classic Golden Age version. Um, but I like the guy from the Tim Burton movies for that, style. But of course, by the newer movies, Commissioner Gordon's much different. He can fisticuff with people and stuff. But anyways, so I've loved all the Commissioner Gordons. But yeah, then I saw that. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes it works.
I'm trying to, again, it was really refreshing to see a Hollywood movie, which, as far as I'm concerned, they're all a bunch of perverts, freaks, creeps, or whatever, like fighting on behalf. This is a baby. It wasn't a fetus. It wasn't a club. So that I was like, wow. I really I really like when she turned her belly invisible and we saw the baby and he was like, oh, that's my baby. It wasn't just like, well, that's just your clump of cells,
Right. And it was this is the fourth Fantastic Four movie. It's the first one that's really about a family. Like, it's really about what Fantastic Four is about.
So overall, like on the scale, there's a lot that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. But what I liked about overall, it leaned towards being the most comic accurate movie, even though there was glaring inaccuracies. But to me, that just emphasizes how inaccurate the rest of the movies were.
Right.
To me, I still. Why did they come up with that female love interest for the Thing? What was wrong with Alicia?
Well, okay, I didn't fully understand that on many levels because it hints at her and then the movie's over. Why would you even include the scenes if you're not actually going to?
Right. There was no purpose for that woman.
No, not at all. Now,
it makes me think that there's scenes cut out.
Almost definitely. Well, there was lots of scenes cut out, and that would be, I really liked the movie that they had, but I would have liked it to been about an hour longer. It felt like it was trimmed to the bone. So I get that the new fad is, hey, who wants to see the origin? Just skip straight to the middle. I kind of get that. But with some characters, it don't work as well. Like with both of the movies, ironically, Superman and Fantastic Four, I felt it didn't work as well as it did with the Batman. But the Batman's origin's really straightforward. His parents was killed, and now he's Batman. Yeah, you don't need to see that.
Right. We don't need to see Superman origin because, there's like a Superman movie every 8 years. We don't need to see another Spider-Man origin or Batman. But like we can see a Green Lantern origin. Like there's only one Green Lantern movie. I could sit through a Green Lantern origin again.
We don't need their origin, but we do need the origin of the story they're telling. So with Fantastic Four, it worked. It was fine.
Right.
But I almost felt like should have been Fantastic Four 2. Like I would have preferred to see them fighting more of their rogues gallery, which was cut. Like there's several villains that were cut out of the original that I would have really liked.
Well, they cut John Malkovich out as the Red Ghost for some reason.
Exactly. So there was a lot that I felt that first half or that first quarter of the movie, I wish it would have done more. Like I would like to have seen their evolution. However, I'd say it takes 1 or 2 points off of the movie for me because I wanted to see more, which isn't a bad thing. Superman, I was a little baffled by its story because it skipped so much of the elements that was the primary plot, like Lex Luthor. Oh, don't worry, the past 3 years he's been doing a lot. I'm like, I kind of need to see that. Fantastic Four wasn't that, but it was that you really felt like you were jumping into the middle, which is what you were doing. But I would have liked to see them, well, like you mentioned, Mr. Fantastic stretches like twice in the whole freaking movie.
Right. The funny thing is like I remember as a kid I saw John Byrne when he first took over the Fantastic Four. It was I think I was like 14 years old. It was my first comic convention, and John Byrne, and he was talking about he goes, Reed Richards, if they ever make a Fantastic Four movie, they're not going to show him stretching too much because it's a gross power. Because if
Right.
you saw somebody stretching in real life, you would be like, ew. He goes,
Right.
bursting into flames. He goes, they got to make it terrifying. The thing is cool. Turning invisible. Who hasn't fantasized about turning invisible? He goes, but nobody fantasizes about stretching.
Right.
You know,
Well,
and I always thought about that. Like even when, what's his name, the guy who played it, Ian whatever, I can't think of the actor's name, but it's kind of gross to see people stretch. Which is,
Right.
I like Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. They gave her different powers in the movie.
Right.
You do not want to see a woman stretch.
Right. And see, now I think that you could do just the arms. Like you see him swinging a little bit, but the sheer lack of it, like even in the original movies, you saw him stretch and wrap around some people and do some stuff. This one, it's a little glaring that he never uses his only superpower, to where you're like, wait a second. When you do see it, when Galactus grabs him and stretches him, you kind of go, so he's just Stretch Armstrong for like 5 seconds in a scene? That's his whole. And it is, I mean, I would say in most comics, his stretching ability is the least useful thing about.
Right.
It's his.
The only time they made stretching powers cool was in The Incredibles.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I said you don't want to see a woman stretch, and then I realized Elastigirl. You know, she was awesome, but
yeah, it can be done.
But The Incredibles was the best Fantastic Four movie ever made.
This is without a doubt true.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate thing is this guy, I think he made about as good without just copying The Incredibles word for word. And it is with every movie that's come out this year is a huge asterisk that movies have been so bad that we're starting to see them get a little better. Like Fantastic Four didn't have no glaring bad CG like the past several movies I've watched. It was really solid and looked like a movie that was filmed 10 years ago instead of the crap they're doing now. I think that there was room to make it even better.
But yeah, that goes without saying.
But I didn't see, like, there was nothing that made me. I'm really excited about seeing them return as the Fantastic Four.
Back to list of things that I like the retro look. I did not like the costumes. The powder blue and the white just didn't work for me. Like, is it a case of like comic accurate costumes sometimes just don't work on screen? Like, I'm seeing that the new Spider-Man movie, unless I'm seeing AI, it looks comic accurate and it looks awesome.
Right.
You know, I do think like the original Fantastic Four, or maybe the John Byrne Fantastic Four, they would look good.
Right.
I didn't like these costumes. Reed Richards was a little bit indecisive and a little bit wimpy, and they didn't showcase how cool and physical his powers could be. Like, he did a few things, but I'm hesitant to remember. Now, a lot of people bring up, Sue Storm was a girl boss. Have you read the comics? You know,
right.
She is by far the most powerful member. Like, Reed Richards is, his intelligence gets him the farther. They would be dead without Reed Richards.
Right.
But when it comes to a physical powerhouse, she beat the Hulk one-on-one back in 1974.
Right. Yeah, and see, that was actually my favorite part of the movie and I've had a lot of complaints of recent movies of, for instance, Superman. I love when Superman like gets shot with a kryptonite bullet and has a kryptonite necklace around his neck and then summons an inner power that's not just his superpowers, it's his soul, and can lift a continent over his head. The Superman didn't have that moment. He relied on his friends. He was saved a lot by his dog and all this. Whereas in this, I loved the idea of the mama bear, right? It's her baby, and she will summon power beyond a cosmic force, and that she was able to, and it killed her. I mean, it killed her. So, but she was able to use that force to push Galactic backwards. And that was a big emotional, like the most emotion a movie squeezed down to me in a long time, where I was like, hell yeah. But yeah, not so much Girl Boss, because it wasn't easy and it killed her. And then it was her baby who brought her back to life.
Yeah, which, if you read the comics, like Franklin is the Deus Ex Machina. He can,
Right.
and like he creates universes to the point where I'm like, I'm a little like, knock it off with Franklin already. Like there has to be limits, you know. But Shadowpunk has a real good point over here. Says the MCU turned Tony Stark into Reed Richards years ago. This Reed has to be. I didn't think of that, but that is a pretty good point.
That is true. It would be really hard to not do Tony Stark.
I come to a lot of people do not have a good grasp or understanding of the character. Yeah, that goes without saying. Reed can't be different. What's the point? Why they bought? Yes, I logic. I know there was a lot wrong with this movie, but this was the least wrong out of all the Fantastic Four movies.
You know what's funny about Marvel fans is they're like, this thing ain't accurate. It's like, have you tried being a DC fan? We've had Batman in countless movies. Never once has he remotely behaved, looked, acted, or been in a world anywhere near the comic books. He's been in mech armor the whole time. I mean,
I've been saying that there hasn't been a Batman movie yet.
Right, excluding the 1966 series.
Well, 1966 was comic accurate for 1966, or at least they changed the comics to look like that. But like, as far as like, I'll say like Neil Adams era Batman, there hasn't been a Batman movie.
We've never got Silver Age and non-Batman. It's always been Golden.
With the exception of the newest movie, which I think totally forgot that Batman's essentially a children's character. He hasn't been a detective.
Right.
And he's the world's greatest detective, you know, and you know, he's not. And even the world's greatest detective did some stupid things because it looks cool. You know, but
and until the movies, he never had gadgets. And then they were like, in the movies, they were like, oh, he's all about the gadgets. It's like, he has a boomerang. Come on. But and so
what you said about DC movies, I'll just say this: I haven't, with the exception of Wonder Woman, which I thought was fantastic, the original Wonder Woman movie. I think it was a lot different, but it was excellent, except for some bad CGI. After Man of Steel, I haven't seen a DC movie since Man of Steel. I hated Man of Steel so much that I'm like, if they're gonna mess up Superman, and I only saw Wonder Woman because all the guys I was hanging out with like, we're gonna go see Wonder Woman. They're like,
yeah.
You know, I'm like,
no,
right.
Honestly, that I've watched all of them because I'm a DC fan, so I'll always give them the next. I'll give them a shot. Wonder Woman was by far the best DCEU movie. I mean, I loved it. It's one of my favorite superhero movies ever. But beyond that, no, you didn't really miss much. Well, ironically, some things you would probably like more now because time has passed. Like Shazam's really fun in the way that James Gunn's Superman and Fantastic Four are.
I know I'm going to catch hell for saying this, but the first Shazam movie, I kind of liked.
It wasn't bad. I liked it.
I know, but I'm just waiting for the onslaught of
right.
The attack.
No, I liked both of the Shazam.
Because I know that there's never going to be a comic book accurate Shazam. They're never going to make the whimsical, you know, original, you know, Fawcett Comics Captain Marvel. It would bomb. It would almost be stupid of them to make that movie. Right?
Right.
So they got to make some sort of compromise. They have to. I didn't like everybody forgets that Captain Marvel is not a goofball. Like when he's a straight man. Billy Batson is a street kid.
Right.
Then he turns into Captain Marvel. He becomes this genius. Like he becomes like Cary Grant. He's a charismatic, assertive adult.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not, look at me, I'm doing Minecraft. You know what I mean? Like that irked me. Like they like it would be. I always, he's my go-to guy, but like if that kid said Shazam and John Hamm is in that outfit at the prime, you know, acting like an adult.
And see, that's the catch of sometimes trying to adapt something that makes sense in comic book form. but it is hard to where you go, okay, this kid is this adult, right? Now, I think they still failed, ironically, to where they go, okay, but let's make it to where the kid's personality doesn't change. He's just a kid in this super body. I go, okay, I get why you want to do that because it makes it hard to convey what is happening if he's suddenly a completely different person. The problem is, in the movie, the kid is a adult straight man who's dark and
Right.
tormented.
The kid was mean and harsh, and when he turned into Captain Marvel, he was goofy and silly.
All of a sudden, he was a silly gooberhead, and I was like, how is Levi more childlike than the child actor? It was baffling to me where
to me it would like yeah, he had like a chip on his shoulder. He was angry when he turned into Captain Marvel. He should have almost have been a villain.
Right.
Because he's a child kid. He doesn't have the wisdom. He has the wisdom of Saul, but he doesn't. You know what I mean? He has all of this. He just can't act on all of his anger because he's a powerless kid.
Right.
Like he should have done something, and then like, oh my god, I can't be like this.
Right. And it was very much like Levi was told the idea, and they filmed his scene separately, and then they brought in that kid, and that kid acted the living hell out of the emotion and stuff, and blew Levi out of the water. But then they just said, anyways, put them together. When it should have been flipped, where the Captain Marvel character was more serious and grounded, and the kid was more goofy. But they did the complete opposite, which always baffled me. And I think it was just merely Levi was told he's in a child in an adult's body.
Right. So they made Big.
He
was Tom Hanks in Big as a superhero.
He just went full on Big and ignored the kid, didn't look at the kid's scenes and how he was performing. So then when you put it all together, it doesn't make any sense of how that kid.
But I will say, what's his name as Savannah was excellent, and he was scary. And that scene where the demons came out and killed everybody in the boardroom.
Yeah.
I tell people, like, that was an all ages movie, yet there was something horrible and terrifying in it. Kids deal with scary stuff, especially when they're safe with their parents watching a movie. Like, we forget Star Wars, a guy got his arm cut off. Gremlins, they were throwing people in microwaves and things were blowing up. Kids can deal with terrifying stuff. Kids like scary stuff.
Right.
So I like that they but overall it was a flawed movie. The second movie almost was good, but it wasn't good.
I just liked seeing.
Although that girl who played Mary Marvel, that girl, make movies about her.
Yeah.
Grace something, whatever her name is.
Right.
We don't even need a script. Just have her and Sydney Sweeney as Power Girl. And,
right.
You know what I mean? And
I would love
just
her
jumping on a trampoline for 2 hours.
I would love her cast as Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I do like her as Mary Marvel though, because Mary Marvel is like wholesome. Wonder Woman.
I would prefer her to stay as Mary Marvel, but that ship has sailed.
Right.
It's all been retconned to hell. So for them to bring her back as Wonder Woman would be cool. We'll see.
Yeah. There's a lot of comments, and a lot of people have roasted me, but this comment, Logic Finance always has some good observations. That's who Tony Stark is. Reed Richards creates tech that even Tony Stark struggled with. I understand the source, but yeah, absolutely. I can't argue with that. Reed Richards is the theoretical scientist who imagines things that nobody else even they don't even think to imagine that.
Right.
Tony Stark, to me, should be an engineer. He's more practical. He doesn't think of quantum levels, blah 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 signals, but he will make armor that enhances your strength. It's like Tony Stark might as well be a wizard in the movies.
But when they did Tony Stark, Fox had the rights to Reed Richards, so they said, "Well, for all they knew, they would never get the rights back to Fantastic Four, so they just condensed them." Because a lot of the stories that are Reed Richards, Tony Stark was very much placed in that role instead.
And Hank Pym made Ultra, but like Tony Stark wouldn't invent time travel in an hour and a half.
Right.
That just bothers me so much. I can't argue with, Logic Finest is absolutely hard. Galactus was the key character they needed to get right. This opens the door for that if child. Yeah, let the Galactus. It shows you how low our expectations are. Like, oh, good, it wasn't a cloud, it was a human, but he looked like a chubby guy in a suit. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of liked that they made him like Mobius looking with the lines and everything like that. This is me being a nut job. My big problem with Galactus is Galactus shouldn't need to eat constantly. Like in that movie, he just finished eating a planet.
Yeah.
Like the way I think he should be cool for like 100 years, 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Unless he exerts himself. Like to me, Galactus can't heal. Galactus can't rest. He needs to recharge his energy. He's different. Like we could eat a hamburger and go to sleep and heal our wounds. Galactus needs a planet. So the only reason why Galactus would need to, this is me, I'm making this up, guys, you know, that Galactus would have to exert himself. And that makes it scary. Why is Galactus exerted? Like when Galactus first came out, I don't know, maybe I misread it, but you got the impression that he was this thing that showed up once in an eon and ate a planet. Like he was like a biblical force of nature that didn't always show up. Like, you know, and then now he's constantly eating. To me, that implies, what is he doing? Why is he exerting himself? There's something scarier than Galactus.
Right.
And to me, that justifies the trial of Reed Richards. Reed Richards was 100% wrong. Should have let Galactus die. Oh, because he's a storm. So you telling me it's okay if so Reed Richards, don't save your mother when a tornado comes because he's a storm. If you know that comic book that I'm talking about, the trial of Reed Richards. Because Galactus was dying, Reed Richards saved his life, and then he went on trial. And Galactus is a test. He has a purpose. You know, AIDS is a test. So you know what I mean? Like,
right.
We passed the test. We defeated Galactus. We passed the test, so we win. We get to kill him. You know, we cured AIDS, so we still release AIDS. You know what I mean? I hate that. I like the story, but I hate the story it sets up. So to me, there has to be a reason for Galactus to exist. Like the Watcher should have said, like, there's a reason. I can't tell you. And Reed Richards should have been like, I've glimpsed beyond. There's a reason for Galactus. Galactus is the forefront that protects us from something that even if I was to explain it to you, you would go mad, like a Cthulhu Lovecraftian horror. Otherwise, Galactus, just kill him. He doesn't do any. Like if there was a kaiju that just stomped on us, we would unite as a planet and kill it.
Right.
If anybody said, "Oh, there's a reason for it," there's a purpose, we'd be like, "Shut up, you idiot! That stepped on my grandmother." Right. You know.
I mean, the technical reason was because it's a very valuable IP.
Yeah, I agree. Galactus should have looked human, but he should have looked more regal. I agree with that. Yeah, he did. He looked like he looked like he just like chugged a couple of beers. You know, you know what I mean? Like they should have made him a little bit more like human, but ineffable. Yes. The thing about Galactus is I could pick and choose some Fantastic Four stories where he behaved exactly like that. Came to Earth and was stomping and falling down, and then Reed Richards used a slingshot on him and knocked him down and he fell. You know what I mean? That's the thing about Galactus. At his height of power, you can't touch him to the point where they need to make the Deus Ex Machina to defeat him. Or weak enough that he can be knocked over by a force field, you know. So Galactus, I love Jack Kirby. But Galactus has always been a problem character for me. As much as I love him, like I don't think he was. And here I am arrogant enough to say Jack Kirby made a mistake. But like when the fact that they had to pull the ultimate nullifier out of their butt, and then later on they had to say like, well, the ultimate nullifier will erase you from existence. Like we got to give consequences.
Yeah.
We created this character, which leads to this device, which leads to these problems, which now there's consequences. Like it always seems like a patchwork update because it was.
But Jack Kirby, funny enough, you know, he worked at Marvel, and he was like he was really big into Chariot of the Gods, the book back in the '60s, and that was really his major focus through both Marvel and DC. So at Marvel, he had uh, Galactus and Thanos and all these types of things. And then when he left there, he went to DC and rebuilt the exact same story with Darkseid and Steppenwolf and the New Gods. It was the exact same story. He just wanted to pick up where he left off. So, but all of those characters from Marvel to DC have the same problem. They're so, his whole point was these things are gods. And then they had that, but you can't defeat a god. So then when you're an actual writer on it, you've got to dumb down their powers so that a Superman is all of a sudden able to beat a Darkseid, right? And so all of the characters always have that. It's all of Jack Kirby's villains he made for Marvel and DC are too powerful. And so you're going to have moments to where you just got to say, hey, it's a comic book movie. This is just how it is, or a comic book.
Omnipro is 100% right. Everyone in the superhero movies is nerfed. Like the Hulk in the movies, if the Hulk in the movies was to meet the Hulk in the comics, he would get destroyed.
Yeah.
The Iron Man in the movies would crush the Iron Man. The Thor in the movies is a weakling compared to the Thor in the comic books. You know, so it makes sense that the Galactus would be weaker too. You know, everybody's weaker. I don't know. I think they're making it for more of a mass audience. You know, so everybody's weaker. Me personally, I like when they weaken heroes. To me, it gives them more drama. I got to say, while watching the movie, I was like, "There's no Alicia. How they, you know, they're going to come up with some BS reason to defeat Galactus." I did like what they came up. We're going to teleport him someplace else. Now, real Galactus, that would be a moment's distraction. You teleported me to East Bumfuck, and then Galactus just teleports back. But this is movie Galactus, which is not comic book Galactus, which was not Reed Richards. You know, which you know, even Spider-Man is not as powerful as comic book Spider-Man. You know, Wolverine is not. Well, I got to say that the Deadpool Wolverine was pretty accurate Wolverine, even power-wise. But they're different enough. I was like, I guess the Silver Surfer is not going to rebel, you know. But I didn't like that Johnny Storm was like more scientifically intelligent than mechanic Johnny Storm. To me, Johnny Storm is a smart blue collar worker. Like he's the guy that I want with me bending pipe and running electrical work, because he's going to figure it out intuitively. But he's not going to be the guy that like designs the Lutrons that powers up and makes a smart building. You know what I mean? There's different types of intelligences.
Yeah, and you know, I did like that this one more so than the past movies does explain these are 4 scientists. One's made out of rock, one's Johnny Storm, and they certainly
I didn't think of that, because that to me is even. I was like, why did they bring Johnny Storm on the flight? He's like a 15-year-old boy, like, you know what I mean? Like when they did the Heroes Reborn, they tried to address it. Believe it or not, I think the Heroes Reborn, which was garbage, the Fantastic Four was the best one, because they took all of it, tied it all to Galactus, and they made it all. You know, for 11 of the 12 issues, it was really, really good. And then that 11th issue was just like garbage. And then they got rid of it. But one of the things they did was Sue Storm was the financier. Like, and as part of the insurance reason, she's like, I'm going. You know, I'm overseeing my investment. And my brother's coming because, you know, we're a team. Like, it made a little bit more sense than like, yeah, this is the young girl. I'm 40 years old. She's 19 years old. And this is her 50 for no whatsoever. Right. Like, had they said we need a 4th person and we're sneaking in, like right now the weather is right, we need a 4th person to operate this ship. You'll do, you know,
right.
Mechanically, but if I maybe I didn't pick that up that there were 4 scientists.
Because it actually in the intro says the 4 greatest minds, and they just happen to be family.
Okay.
And so it hints to that, saying no, Johnny Storm's there because Mr. Terrific, Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Terrific, Mr. Fantastic is by far the most intelligent human on a planet, but the other three are also very good scientists and engineers. And so it does change that, so it all makes sense to why these four particular people were the one launched into space. It's saying, well, they're the best of the best type deal.
I did like once I realized, okay, he's flirting with the Silver Surfer,
Right.
and then that's going to cause her to rebel. You know what I mean? Like they set that up, like you know, that worked because Silver Surfer's got to rebel against. But I didn't have a problem with Sue hitting Galactus with because that was movie Galactus. That wasn't comic book Galactus. Again, there was many faults. But I liked it the best out of all. To me, that was a comic book movie.
Yeah.
I when I was watching the original fit with the I just kept was like saying, oh, this is a movie adaptation of my comic book.
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, if you single it down, you say, okay, it's one of the most comic accurate to where they actually use the time period that those characters are the most connected to. Yes, they've updated them since then, but let's be honest, the Fantastic Four just makes sense in the 60s. And I'd say the same about Batman. Batman makes sense as a 30s and 40s character when the Mafia was actually far more active. When you try to move the character in the 2020s and he's fighting the Italian Mafia, you're like, really? Is that really a big
problem? I do like the Fantastic Four set in the 60s. I'd say Batman is in the 70s.
Yeah.
Batman is in the 70s. And the Punisher is like in the late 70s, 80s. Yeah. They need a new vigilante for right now. Like I would see like the Shadow is in the 30s.
Yeah.
He passes the torch to Batman in the 70s.
And and Batman needs a real crime wave, right? Not like
that's why the 70s,
right. You have this real like wild thing. So yeah, I think that a lot of comic movies should and comics should stop with it has to be 2025. It's like, yeah, 2025 ain't very interesting. It's just people angry at each other on Twitter. They don't need a superhero.
Well, this is I do this all the time, and I annoy people, especially my rewrite of the Fantastic Four movie. It starts out the same. It looks the same. They don't have powers, and we got to beat the Russians to the moon, just like in the comics, And Reed Richards, all the world is, we got all these fantastic devices. They got this cool ship. You could even say like we already been to the moon, whatever. But like we're going into space. They go into space. They land. Maybe they deal with the red ghost, whatever, and the super monkeys. And as they're going back, they deal with like time relative. They coming back. They hit the cosmic rays. They turn into the Fantastic Four. They do whatever they can only because Ben's a great pilot, and they crash land. And they're like, okay, any landing we can walk away from is a good landing. And then he starts turning into Ben Grimm. They start getting the powers, and they're like, oh, could it get any worse? And like, yeah, we crash landed in Latvia.
Right.
And now it's Doom. And that's the first movie. They just fight Doom in Latvia. You get the origin, the fight Doctor. And as they fight Dr. Doom, they get into the ship or whatever to leave Dr. Doom. And he does something to the ship, and they go into relativistic space. So the second movie, they come back in 2025, set in our world. Just like in the Ant-Man movie, they had the original Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's just that it was so long ago, it wasn't relevant. So now they're like, oh my God, this is like we already established that Captain America was from the 40s. People forgot about him, he came back. Oh my God, this is the Fantastic Four. We thought they died. We thought Dr. Doom killed them. They're back. And then Tony Stark's like, yeah, it makes sense. They were at relativistic speeds. They're going to think it's still 1963. Yeah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
and they land, and guess what? They went into relativistic speed. They attracted Galactus's attention. So you're right. This should have been the second movie.
Right, and see, you look at Captain America did the same thing to where he was the original Captain America, but he's frozen. Then they unfreeze him, and he's in modern times. Now they're kind of doing that with the Fantastic Four, my guess is Disney is getting, they're starting to understand that all of their eggs are in one basket. When the MCU falls, it all falls. So suddenly they have this Fantastic Four that exists in its own universe, who then jump dimensions to the MCU in Doomsday to help the Avengers. My guess is they jump right back. And so now they have this, hey, if the MCU falls, Fantastic Four doesn't have to. It's its own thing. And so
I agree with Logic Finest over here. Reed's smart idea is to teleport Galactus someplace else. Let that sink in. He knows the Earth is. Why wouldn't he come back? I thought that they were going to address it, and this. I agree with Logic over here. This is a flaw in the movie. You know, when they trapped the Silver Surfer in that black hole, and they said it'll take her 2 months to get out of it or whatever. So I was like, they're setting something up, and I thought they were going to teleport Galactus into the black hole, like literally try to murder him. Like this is survival. We're gonna try to murder, but it's a comic book movie. Galactus escapes, but he escapes years later, and he comes back just like in the comic books. Galactus comes back. You know, that's what I thought they were gonna do. So I do agree. Just teleporting, like they made a point that he's at like 16 galaxies away, and I'm like, well, if Reed Richards could replicate that science, Galactus could replicate that science. I think it would have been like, we're teleporting him. Good. And then they teleport him, and then Ben's like, hey, Stretcho, where'd you teleport him to? He's like, oh, inside the black hole.
Right.
You killed him? Like, why didn't you tell us? Well, would you have participated if I told you? Like, I make the hard decisions. Like, don't worry about it. I'll explain later. We just killed Galactus, and then they, you know, Galactus is at relativistic time, gravity, he comes back 100 years later, whatever, but he's coming back. You know, that's what you with Galactus. You had one opportunity to kill him. The rest of the time, all you could do is delay him. Yeah. So I do agree with your logic. Are they supposed to be dumbed down, flashy, or serious quality films? That's just it. Like, for the most part, they are dumbed down. Every superhero movie is dumbed down because and I would continuity that you can't do it.
Yeah, and you would want a different medium, a comic book. I mean, I don't know. When it comes to Marvel, DC, very few comics do I think are that deep reading. I love them. I love reading the stories, but I'm not walking away like I just read just watch Requiem for a Dream or something. You know, these are pretty, you know, it's good versus evil and stuff like that. But so for DC, Marvel, but even the indie stuff that's a little like this more intelligent narratives, yeah, they're dumbed down too. And that's a lot due to the fact that you're trying to condense a story that's told over dozens, if not hundreds of issues within 2 hours.
By 35, 45 different writers with different view, and so sometimes they contradict each other.
Yeah, it's almost has to be watered down unless you have a comic that has a very strong narrative. I think that's why Batman has been able to be adapted so many times, is he's far more flexible. The Fantastic Four isn't. I feel like the Fantastic Four is the Fantastic Four, and that's just what it is. Batman can become anything because the ideas of vengeance, justice, and vigilantism is kind of universal.
We've all fantasized about it.
Right.
We're all sitting on the subway train, and we're just like, I just want to beat the crap out of that asshole over there.
That's Joker.
And some of us have done it.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that, yes, they kind of have to be. The best adaptions I've seen of comic books are video games. They have the time to really go over the massive stories and the world building that movies can't. A TV could hypothetically, but I don't think TV ever has. That's probably where that's more of a failing of
Daredevil, the first season of Daredevil.
Yeah, first season of
what they changed, I agreed with.
Right. The first
even what I
season,
disagreed with, I dealt with.
right. All of the first seasons of the Netflix Marvel shows and most of the first seasons of the CW shows I really liked. Every single one of them I couldn't stand watching by the from like halfway through the second season. Daredevil I didn't like after the first season. Um, no, all of them. The second seasons were bad, and it was sad because their first seasons were so good. CW, I liked Supergirl season 1. I liked. Um,
Yeah, I really like Supergirl season 1. I bought the
yeah,
DVD of it. And I'm like, this is by episode 2, they introduced the Hell Grommet, and they made no excuses. They were just like, Hell Grommet's here, and like they
right.
took a real goofy villain and played it straight. And I was like, I'm hooked.
And I was so
And then
excited.
they started preaching to me, and I'm like, I'm out.
Right, and Superman shows up, and I was like, this is freaking awesome. And then the show goes off rails. I don't know. Yeah, there was a little bit of preachy, but there was a little bit of just the quality barreled down. And I remember the worst episode I saw, I was most excited for because Kevin Smith was, he's written comics and he's like he's been involved with like going to write Superman movies or whatever. He's directing an episode of Supergirl, and I was like super excited. It was the worst episode of a TV show I've ever seen. It was so poorly written.
I'll tell you why it was Kevin Smith.
But now it really makes me retroactively look at everything he's done because when you're a teenager or younger and you watch something.
I loved Kevin Smith. Oh my God, he sold his comic book collection. He borrowed money to make a movie on a shoestring, and the movie, it wasn't that good, but it was great at the same time. It was punk rock. It was do it yourself. Right. It was inspiring, but it's not a great movie. It was like, oh wow, we could do this.
Right.
It's like a lot of punk bands that I liked. I'm like, wow, we could, within 6 months of practice, we could sound like this, but it doesn't mean we're great musicians, but I love that stuff. But there comes a point with Kevin Smith, it's like either learn how to become a good director, learn how to become a good script writer, because this all the punk bands that survived, they became good musicians over time.
Right.
And that's the way I look at Kevin Smith. I'm like, you're not professional. You wrote that Spider-Man story, and it was like 6 years between issues.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, grow up, you crying fat bastard.
Right. Yeah, and see, one thing about Kevin Smith, he was. I really liked Clerks, so I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And but then I was like, what happened after? Right? Every movie gets weirder and campier and is nothing like he's never done Clerks again. He's never done a movie remotely close. And then I watched anyways, I watched it's called Slackers, I think. There's a bigger budget slapstick comedy Slackers. That's not it. This was an indie movie called Slackers, I believe.
Yeah, in Austin, Texas, where everybody has a line, and then the next person comes by, and the next person comes by.
Yeah, and there was like this lady had Madonna, was trying to sell Madonna's pap smear.
That was the original drummer for the Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, that movie was amazing. And
I love that movie.
He watched that movie and then copied it for Clerks, and he did a really good copy. But the whole tone and pacing and the jokes and the idea that these are just random people, he just copied them. When I watched that movie that came out before Clerks, I was like, oh, he just copies people. He didn't do Clerks. He just copied somebody. That's why every movie after sucks, is because his natural talent isn't good, but the guy he copied was good. So, okay, what did you just put a thing? Oh, I didn't like Superman and Lois.
I never watched it because I didn't like this. I hated Smallville so much that I just didn't watch any CW shows except for Supergirl. But that wasn't originally a CW show.
No. The guy that played Superman was terrific, And there was some in that first episode, some really cool scenes to where, like, he's wearing his original Golden Age outfit, and this little kid says, "I love your costume," and he says, "My mom made it," and then takes off into the sky. He really captured Clark Kent better than anybody else, and that very hopeful Superman. The problem is, I live in Oklahoma, right on the Kansas-Oklahoma line. They are supposedly maybe 45 minutes north of me in Smallsville. Isn't real, but they're somewhere up there in Kansas, right? That show just reeked of being written by New Yorkers who had no freaking idea. They had never left the city limits of New York. So in one, the kids go out to a party that's in a pasture or a cornfield or something. Okay, that's semi-accurate. We do that. They call an Uber. Well, here's the deal. We don't got goddamn Ubers. We live in rural America. Who is this Uber that drives to the middle of the freaking country? And it just was, at first I was like, I'll ignore it.
I lived out in Albuquerque and I dated a girl that lived in Cortez, Colorado. If you didn't have a car, you didn't have a social life.
Right.
Or access to a car. You know, you didn't, yeah.
The show just kept piling it on to where they're like, yeah, it's Smallsville in Kansas, but totally New York. It's like, no, they're not the same thing. And so the guy was capturing what a superhero from Kansas would behave like. He was really good as Superman, but the writers just kept on with, oh, and then the two sons. You know, when there's those characters you just hate? There's two sons. One is kind of like what Superman's son was supposed to be. The other was just added, and he was like, I'm kind of like depressed and non-binary and weird. They made the whole freaking show about him, and he is so freaking irritating. And then the actor who plays the son you actually like, he leaves the show. He's like, yeah, that's enough. He leaves, and so now you're stuck with the annoying son. Anyways.
I want to address this. Johnny Storm somehow on his own learned Silver Surfer. Yeah, that was, as the hipsters say, problematic. I hate that word. I didn't like that either. And I said to my wife, Johnny Storm would never do this. This was an opportunity stolen from Reed Richards. I do agree.
Right.
Yeah. Reed Richards, like, what's that? Like, he would have worked on that, you know, and figured and stuff out. But they wanted it so that Johnny Storm could flirt with her and then have this connection, you know, this woman-man thing.
Right.
That I liked. If we're gonna have a female Silver Surfer, I bought that. You know what I mean? And that's probably why they had the female Silver Surfer. That they're probably saving the male Silver Surfer for the real universe, whatever.
Yeah.
But Reed should. This is something they stole from Reed. I absolutely agree.
And see, and when I watch the movie, I go, yes, it's a little weird. At the same time, I get the utility of it. Now, utility doesn't forgive filmmakers, you know, but I understand they said, we need each character doing something. Reed Richards is building this teleportation. How do you fit in that he's also translating? They go, right. Fine, let Johnny do that in his spare time. And so we can focus Sue and Reed on doing this thing. And you can kind of see them struggling with having four main characters. Reed only stretches once or twice because he needs to be doing other things. The Thing lifts a car for a kid, and then there's the joke about him saying it's clobbering time. There's not a lot for him to do either because the story really needs to focus on Sue and Reed Richards. And so they're struggling with having such a short movie, under 2 hours, quite a bit. They're struggling with fitting four characters. It should have been a 2.5 hour movie.
Like they gave, I do agree with you. They gave Ben that story with Roz that went nowhere and it added nothing to the movie. I like the Mole Man. I got a chuckle out of him. Yeah. I like that they used his real name. I was like, that was an odd decision that like Subterranea was like a legit world,
Right.
a nation underneath New York. Like I thought that was bizarre, but all right, I'll accept it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I just couldn't get past the fact that the mole man was Liam Gray.
Right.
They went down to Australia, got Liam Gray, and put him in a movie. Good job, Liam. You know. But anyway, we've been talking for a long time. I pushed. Normally at this time I would start. It's clobbering time, so I pushed its clobbering time back to 8:45. So I got a couple of minutes to set up for that. Anything you want to say while we close this down?
No, yes, just self-promotion. So you can still back the Saving the World Omnibus that collects my first 12 issues of my series. And that is a Kickstarter in demand type thing. You can also go to, currently we're funding On Call Heroes #2, which is written by me, and it's a spin-off of Saving the World. You can also get the omnibus there too. So you don't have to go to 2 campaigns. You can just go to On Call Heroes and get not only the 1 through 12 of Saving the World, but 1 and 2 of On Call Heroes. Same characters, different tones, different artists. And let's see what else. That's all I got.
Cool. Yeah. I 12 campaigns, always delivered,
Mm-hmm.
you know, quality story. I really, really like Saving the World. I can't wait to see where it goes, you know. So there you go. I'm gonna close up. You can also get Heroic Tales #2 on Kickstarter or Fund My Comic. Either way, you know, I prefer Fund My Comic because I like Luke Stone better than the nebulous, strange Illuminati people who run Kickstarter behind hooded masks without names and accountability. But you know, there you go. So I'm going to close this down. I'm going to get a quick bite to eat, and then we'll do. And Tonic, you're welcome to come in. We're talking about Bullseye versus Deadshot tonight.
Nice.
So see you in 4 minutes. Is that going to be enough time to eat this Whopper? We'll find out. All right, bye-bye, everybody.